Okay, I'm gonna turn my camera off because it works better that way. I'm gonna share the screen. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over real quick where we're at right here on the left-hand side. We're at today, the 25th. We just finished the project 1. We're starting project 3, the type specimen book. And if we have any time left over, we're going to work on exercise 4 and the brief for project 3. Next class is do the brief, which I'll go into. So I just want to recap that, where we're at today. And then this is project 3. There are multiple folders in 3. The first folder is just examples of the final product that I showed you before to give you some ideas about how you want to lay it out, what you want it to look like. I think a question came up last week about what content to put in there. This person put in colors, I think paint colors, ultramarine. I'm not sure what that one is. And this person put in an introduction, and then she also put in the person's name that gave her the jewelry. And this person, I think, did famous artist. And this person did just information about each vegetable. So the content is up to you, but we'll get into that now. So at the top right away, there are 4 templates. The first template, I will go through all these templates with you. The first template is pagination, that's how to lay out your book. The second one is the layout of the book through blurb. If any of you want to use blurb to eventually print this, it's a printing company that gives you templates to create books with. You can download the app, download the plugin, I should say, for InDesign. You're going to have to do that in order to use this one. I do have another template that if you want to use it instead of blurb, you can use that if you have no intention of using blurb. I can upload that, but I'm going to also show that to you today. So there's the blurb version of the template, and then there's the non-blurb version. And then the next thing is the layout sketches worksheet and the rough comp worksheet. This is intended to just start out your sketches and figure out how you're going to lay it out. This is to finalize it, of course, and get it as close to done as possible. And then this is the timeline that we're going to go by. So the first phase is the design brief, which I have uploaded already. And that you can turn in under design brief sketches, rough comp assignments. And then that's due on next Tuesday, right? Next Tuesday. The layouts, this is going to go like week after week. The layouts are due in the same
Wait, can
location.
we just for
Yeah,
it
sure.
says the de design briefs are due 2/27. So is that this Thursday?
Oh, you're right. Thank you.
Okay.
It is. And it does say that over here. You're right. Sorry. Tuesday. Um, and then the sketches are due on the 6th, rough comps on the 11th. The final layout is due here on the 27th. The layout, and I want to stress the layout because there's final layout and then there's the final. The final layout is just for the interior of the book. The final, as you can see, is the combination of project 2 and project 3 due on the 4th, on 4/8. So due dates are open until 4/8 for multiple submissions. And when you do project 2, you'll have due dates under that in the same kind of fashion. But we'll get to that later. Do not worry about project 2. This is going to be too much for you to worry about to begin with. And I think I showed you guys this before. That was the example of Jennifer's book on Behance. Do you guys remember that? This one. So if you guys want to, the link to that is in the project if you want to go back and just look at her process and how she did it and how she laid it out. And this is the book. So I decided to do a 5x5 book like this. And it looks like she did send it to Blurb. So it's going to be this size. So if you guys want to look at that, the link to that is right here. Okay. So the object of this is to identify and incorporate important processes used in the creation of typeface. The exercises realized are fundamental to the continuing development of the artist designer. Skills, grids, typographic hierarchy and layout, and typography and InDesign. Those are the skills you're going to get. So this is the basic list of everything that you're going to be doing for the interior of the book. So if you're interested, that first line InDesign book exported as PDF, you can stop there if you don't want to do Blurb, but you can send it to Blurb if you're interested. The reason that I have the Blurb template in there is Blurb will create your cover template for you. When you create a book, the number of pages is directly related to the size of the spine of the book, which is the cover. So that's the reason you need to use their template, or it's beneficial to use their template, because once you finish the interior of the book, you can click create cover and it'll create a cover template for you with the correct size spine. That is the reason that if you want to do that, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. I have another template that doesn't include that at all. So the size of the book is 5x5, or you can choose the 5x5 blurb option. Use a module grid. Does somebody have a question?
Yeah. Is Blur, I'm not familiar with Blur, but so we're doing a actual physical book. It's not just on PDF, like on the
Yeah,
computer.
it can be. So the
Okay.
goal is to do it on the computer. You are not required to send it to Blurb. But should you in the future or after this class decide that you want to send it to Blurb, you will have that option. Or you
So
want
they're
to
a
go to
publisher?
their publisher. So you
Okay,
can,
awesome.
they're a bookmaker.
Yeah, bookmaker. They
Yeah.
okay.
So you can upload your books here. That's how I've done a lot of my books is through Blurb. So you would go to Blurb and I don't think I'm
How
logged in
much does
anymore.
that cost?
Depends on the size and the paper you use, the cover you use, the size of the book, what you're going to decide to, how much you want it to look nice or vice versa. Books, of course, with hardcovers are way more expensive. The magazine that I did was like 36 pages, and I think it was like, because the shipping is expensive too. It was like $30.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I mean
But I
that
think I
would
got two
probably
of
make
them. I can't remember if I got two of them or not.
that's
So look at the pricing. It's not that expensive.
that's awesome. Thanks for the resource.
You're going to create an alphabet set of 26 letters. The letters will be made up of actual objects and photographed on similar backgrounds. preferably the same background, so that it looks as cohesive as possible. Create a gridded publication using InDesign that utilizes paragraph styles, places the images, and works in the description. So grid, this publication just means you're going to be doing this on a grid. You're going to have columns, you're going to have a module, you're going to work with that to create this. This project's done in phases. You will complete the interior of the book first and then the cover. The cover is project 2. And we'll kind of like, as you're getting towards the end of project 3, we'll introduce project 2. So you can, be thinking about the cover while you're doing all this so that it can be consistent with the rest of the book. But as you're kind of finishing up your photography, your typography, your colors, and what color palettes you want to use, you're going to introduce the cover so that you can start creating that and also making it consistent with the rest of the book. What is required is a design brief, layout sketches, rough comps, type combinations and weight decisions, written descriptions, color palette versions, and images. So the first phase is the design brief, and you'll turn that into the sketches under this one, under project 3. Turn in design brief, layout sketches, and roughs here under project 3, which I'm going to go out right here. So design brief, layout sketches, and rough comps right here. I'm going to go back down. So I've labeled everywhere we are supposed to turn things in. You're going to choose objects and plan object photo shoots. Photograph images, clean up photos in Photoshop. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is sketching layout sketches, 30 thumbnails, and you're going to turn that into that other section that we just looked at. The roughs, turn in sketches labeled, label your sketches, turn them into the same place. Type combinations and weights, and create written descriptions. You can also use AI to help you if you want, but half the time AI doesn't really do what you want it to do. So if you don't want to, if you feel like writing it yourself, I'm just giving you that option if you need a prompt, like you have no idea what to write about. Yeah. I see Jason's face. Yeah, I know. Just trying to help you out. It's a lot of content. It's 26 pages of content you need to write. Right? Yeah, 26 pages. Create color palette version. I should have said versions. You're going to need to create a color palette and and try different types of color palettes to get to where you want to go. The final layout, turn in on Blackboard, final layout here on this one. Combination project 2 and 3 final turn into Blackboard here. So those are the only 2 that go here, right here. Turn in these 2 here. The project 3 final layout, and then project 2, project 3 final. Where was I? And then submission. You're going to save it as your final, and you're going to create a PDF, and we'll get to the PDF later about how to export it and create a PDF and combine the cover with the interior. And these are the fonts we've used so far. If anybody can think of another one I've missed, please let me know. And we've gone over type combinations, we've gone over type layout and design and typesetting, and all of those presentations are in the Blackboard to go over if you forgot how to do all that. But the most important thing that you're going to work on is the design brief. That's the first thing you need to get to.
I had a question about I don't know if you're about to go into it, about what we can put into our design brief. Like since we're gonna be thinking about color palettes a little later in the project, are we okay.
So, this is the design brief, and I put it outside of here. I don't know how you guys feel about that, if you wanted it inside with all the other templates, but it's on the outside under the folder Project 3. And I think what you're talking about is maybe the target audience. So I just put a basic design brief in here. The first step to writing a design brief is to clarify your objective and goals. Research and understand your audience. Who's your audience? Who, like, if it's a senior, are they gonna want like purples and like poppy pop colors? They're probably not. If it's a child, that might work, but if it's, somebody older, or if it's for like museum information, it might want to be more museum-ish colors. So the objective, what's the overall goal of your design? What message are you trying to get across? And then attitude, what is the style or tone? Create a mood board is helpful to do that. I always create a mood board for every project. That's the first thing I do is I look at, like, after I do the brief, I start with the mood board and I do the typography, the color palette, inspiring images, other types of things that have been done the same way. I just put all that together, and that helps me start to think about which direction I want to go. Um, and the message, if there's one thing to communicate to the audience, what is it? What are you trying to talk about? And who's your target audience? What is your audience demographic, and who are you trying to reach? Deliverables and format, describe the key pieces to be produced. So this might be helpful for you if you want to create I don't know if project management is a good idea, but when I did my books, I create a timeline, and I have things due at a certain time to keep myself on track. So you might want to try and create one of those instead of these deadlines, giving yourself like little chunks to do at a time, because it's going to be a lot of stuff to get done. So you want to just keep hammering away a little bit every day on it.
So for the deliverables and format, so our deliverables is, going to be um obviously creating the alphabet out of various things. Um, so are you suggesting, I'm not sure how I would.
Just make sure you understand what the deliverables are, because sometimes what I'll do is I can look at something and look at a client's brief and say, okay, that's what they want. But then I start writing it down. I'm like, oh yeah, I have the photography, but wait, how am I going to get that photography done? Sometimes when you look at it and go, oh yeah, that's the deliverable, but then you're like, wait, on top of that deliverable, I have all these other small things under that deliverable that I have to accomplish.
So like
So for your
collect
own deliverables, like, do I need to find if it, this is also for you to figure out like how you're going to get this done.
kind of like
Deliverables,
collecting the material that is to be used for the
right,
object to be photographed.
right. The key pieces that you're going to need to produce this.
Okay.
Like,
So,
yeah, like
okay.
the objects, like maybe you have to get a camera. Maybe you need to make sure you have Photoshop downloaded, things like that.
Okay.
And then schedule, what is the project's deadlines? Here's what I said. Do you need to create a timeline of important dates and deadlines to complete the work on time? So I've even made it as easy as like a Google Doc with two columns that says this is due on this date, and then a description of what the deliverable is, and then a description of all the things I have to get done within that deliverable. And then maybe a third column of check marking it off that you got this deliverable done or that deliverable done. That's what I've done in the past.
And are we filling this form out or are we going to put it into like, are we going to type it out in Word?
You can download it. It's a PDF. If you want to, I think you can, if you want to take it into Google, you can upload a PDF, I think, to Google.
Um, yeah, oh, okay, so you want us to just fill this worksheet out.
Yeah. Either if you
Okay.
want to write it or if you want to upload it to Google and type it in, it's up to you.
Okay.
Or even Procreate. I mean, you could download it to Procreate and write in it. I don't know if anybody has Notability. Notability is another really good app to use for filling out information. So the top things that you guys gotta work on are number one, the brief. And then the next step would be um, think about your objects and plan your photo shoots.
Um, so should we have our like a good idea of what it is we're going to be using like now or or just
Yeah,
by the time we turn in our design brief?
I think the design brief will help you figure that out.
Yeah. I've
So,
been
go
trying
ahead.
to think about different ideas. But yeah, I don't know if anyone else has ideas already. Are there examples in the resource folder or
Yeah, there's this one. It's the one that I had before. The alphabet book examples. There's this one, and then there's the one on Behance.
right, yeah, yeah. Can we
I
get like
use
can we
when
get like really I don't know how clean you want it to be or like because we have to clean it up in Photoshop. We can't do any like effects or anything or what can we do with
well, what do you mean by effects?
like adding in a backdrop like I don't know, putting in like a background or do we have to use the background from what we were photographing
No,
on
actually, when I did mine, I created, I'm trying to remember how I did it. I created, oh, I did use a background. So when I did mine, I created jewelry. Oh, I make jewelry too. So I took wire from jewelry making and I bent it into letters. And then what I did is I did like a photo shoot where um, I I created the back. I had put it on the background I wanted. This might help you guys speeding up the process and not having to do so much in Photoshop. I put it on a background, and then I bought the background that I wanted. It was like a textured paper, and then I bought flowers to put around the letters, like in like a circle, and then I took the photos. So I set it up so that it would be as little work as possible in Photoshop.
nice. Yeah, because that would yeah, okay. So in Photoshop basically we're just like how would you like lifting or the contrast or changing the hues or
Yeah, and it's so much easier for you now. Gosh. You can select stuff in Photoshop, copy and paste it, and it takes it apart, and you can put it on anything you want. Put a drop shadow on it, create shadowing. Like you can do anything you want in Photoshop.
so is this that A that you were just showing? Because I remember I told you I had made an alphabet deck for my daughter, but I had made it. Um, because that looked like something that was made as well.
This A, I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess this is ice that was melting.
Uh-huh.
That's my guess. And they outlined it.
Nice. Oh. but it looks like they painted it though, because
It does look like it's a watercolor. Like, I don't know if they had made ice cube, like took an ice cube and it started to melt, but then they just had no color to it. So they
yeah,
added
that
color
looks
to
like a
it.
painting to me. But
Yeah, it looks like they
yeah,
added a watercolor brush on top of it to give it more emphasis. Because if they had just done like a letter that had melted, then it wouldn't have worked at all. That's what it looks like they did to me.
because that looks like a watercolor painting.
It does. It does. Unless it was a watercolor, unless they did do a watercolor painting
Mhm.
and they use that. But it's supposed to, what is the personal objects, wasn't it? Definition was actual objects. So I don't know what they used.
It definitely looks like they painted it though. That's all I'm
It
saying.
does. Or if they
Yeah.
went into Photoshop and colorized it, painted it in Photoshop,
Well, regardless, they still um trace,
manipulated it.
yeah, with so
Yeah, I don't
yeah, I
know
was
what
just
they
trying to
let
see
him
if
do.
what could fit the criteria. But I
What
like
were
the
you thinking?
aesthetics. Yeah.
Were you thinking of doing something like this?
Well, I already, so this is something I spent a year doing last year. I made preliminaries and I made all these, like it's pictorials, like a bunch of illustrated like letters with different pictures in it. And it was all 26 letters of the alphabet. So I mean, I already made the alphabet. So that's why when you introduced this project, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I could make that into a book, you know?
Right.
But yeah, if I need to create something new, then
Yeah. I would question this person. I don't know how they did it. It wasn't my student. So I would
mhm.
question like, what is that? Like, it looks just like like you said, it looks just like a drawing with paint on it. So how'd you get away with that with this actual object thing?
Right.
And they got it picked like as one of the better ones. So how did you manage that one?
Huh. So it's
Yeah,
and
that's
yeah,
what
I
I
don't
want to
know. I
know.
wish they would say how they made it.
Yeah,
I like the vegetable one, that asparagus. That's
yeah. I like the font they use too because it's kind of like swirly. Yeah.
so
So
we
they
pick a
go.
uniform. Never mind. I won't.
Um, so the cover obviously they did all the letters first and they just used it for the cover. You were gonna say?
Nothing. I was just gonna ask a question, but I don't need to you to answer it because I never mind.
Okay. So, just a brief overview of what you're going to get to in the future. I was going to show you, to everybody take a deep breath and don't panic. So this is the pagination page book. This is the pagination template. It might look a bit different when you open it in yours because I made these bold, the text bold for everybody to see it a little bit better. Let me try and make it a little bit bigger. Um, So I'm sure if you did a book before, Tiffany, you know, I don't want it that small. You know that there's a cover and a back cover. There's a blank interior page and then the first page. There's a blank page. So basically these are back to back, the back page and the blank back page, and the cover and the blank page. They're back to back. So the cover will be on top of the blank page. Depending on if you have filler pages for it gets a little complicated. Depending if you have filler pages for a hardcover book. Hardcover books have filler pages. So you would have the introduction. This is your first printed page, and then you have the alphabet, obviously, and then Z. Everything, every book has to be divisible. Well, depends on the kind of book. I'm sorry. Magazines are different than books. They have to be divisible by 2 or 4. So this has an extra page because it has to be divisible by 4. So this one's blank, and you could put your full alphabet on the back page, or you can leave it blank. So it's
I have a
54 pages.
question.
Yes.
Um, does it have to be exactly the 54 pages, or let's say that we would like to add 1 or 2 more pages. Can we do that?
It has to be divisible by 4 or 2. So if you add 1 page, you have to add 2 pages.
Okay.
Were you thinking of adding something different than what's
I
already here?
thought that maybe it would be interesting to, at least in my case, to add pictures of the process.
Okay. That would be a lot more pages.
Yeah, not a lot, but like a little mosaic of a few pictures.
You could maybe do that on the blank page, the 54 at the
Okay,
end. You have this one that's blank. You could, instead of putting the full alphabet, you could put that there.
okay.
And then this is the blurb version of the template. So I'm going to go up to the top. Blurb gives you all of the information that you ever never wanted to know. So it'll tell you everything. Red is the final size bleed. Black is the page size trim. Magenta is the margin and the safe art boundary. I put this in. This is extra. The introduction I put in there. This is where you'd put your introduction. As you can remember from the pagination, this is where you'd put your introduction. So the blurb, this would be your introduction. This first page is printable page in your book and will print on the right side. So it tells you all about, please be sure to complete the page design prior to creating your cover template because it'll add up the pages and create the spine. The page count must be exact when creating your cover template. You will need to upload a PDF file for the page and at least 1 cover type. Remember, all books must be in an even number of pages. The first page will be the one on the right side as you open the cover, and the last page will be the one on the left side as you close the book. Hardcover books include an end sheet on both the front and the back of the inside pages for binding purposes. Please note all critical text and art should appear within this gray area. Any content outside this area may be unevenly trimmed or hidden by the gutter when the book is bound. If you would like your artwork to extend to the very edge of your finished book, then pull your artwork to the edge of the red bleed line. Be sure to review your exported PDF on the outside program and an outside program like Adobe Reader to ensure that it appears correctly and without these instructions. Further information can be found here. So that's why I gave you the blurb version of it, because it's a no-brainer. You can't miss where the margins are, where the bleed is, where the trim is. Because on every page, you have that little hey, this is what this is, to help you guys out if you want to use this one. You can still use this one and not turn it into blurb, not send it to blurb. It just makes it easier for you guys to know what's what. The other version of it I made, if you don't want to deal with all of this and having to use the plugin, which here you download the plugin off Blurb and you go to the Blurb book creator under plugins. And if it'll work, please work here. So this template, you put in the title, you put in your name, you put in the book size, you put the paper that you want. You put that you want a soft cover. I think it was the only option for this. Yeah, soft cover because of the type of book I picked. You put in the page numbers and then you say create and it creates this one that I just showed you. When you're all done, then you create the cover template. If you're looking at this right here, when you're all done, that's when you click, is you click the cover template. So this is an option. This is the one I put on Blackboard. And you can go back, don't change don't create the cover until you're absolutely ready. Because it's a little annoying to try and change the cover once you create it. So that's that version. And then this is the version that I made that doesn't have any of that. Oh, this is the cover, sorry. You know, that's the back and front color. This is the version I made of the template, which I don't know why it's not showing my template. No, it's not. Here's the cover page that I made for that. Why? This is really weird because hold on.
Was it that massive file with all those?
Oh, I'm in the parent page, sorry. Why, where'd it go? I'm still in the parent page. I was working on the parent page while you guys were, before you guys got on. So this is the other one. It doesn't have any of that information. It still has the bleed and still has the margins. And if you look closely, it does have the trim marks, but you can't see them as well. It's basically the edge right here. So it's up to you what you want to use, because I've already created the cover for it. And this page size will, because you're not going to print it, it doesn't matter that the spine is not perfect.
So if we want to print it, you recommend just using the
Blurb.
blurb.
Yeah, it's faster and easier.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that one because and we can download everything in black, like you have it all
First, go
there.
to Blurb and download the plugin to make sure that, because it's going to ask you when you download, I'm not sure if you download it now directly, if it's going to ask you to download the plugin, the template, you know, if you try to download the template, it's going to ask you either to download the plugin from Blurb, but you're going
And
to
that
need the plugin.
the plugin like goes into your InDesign or your Adobe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like any other app that you download it, you know, it comes in this download install app, and then you click on it and it installs, and then when you open Adobe, it's there. It's automatically here when you go to file. It's automatically at the bottom.
Cool.
If you
Okay.
have Adobe, you know, if you have InDesign already installed on your computer.
Yeah. Okay.
And we'll get into module grid lines and all that later. Gutters and gutters and columns and all that, because you need to decide how you want your layout to be first. And I need to see, what am I looking for? Oh, this one. It's there. No, okay, there. I want you to come down. Okay, there, I can see you now. The Zoom thing is in the way. Okay, so the layout sketches. Hello. There we go. Here's the layout sketches for y'all. You may sketch here on tracing paper, but you need 30 sketches, 30 thumbnails. So these are basically 2 pages. Where's my, I want my, what's it called? My little marker thingies. Not seeing them. I found them. I can't find them. Nope. You can see my cursor going all over the place trying to find my little 2 dads. Oh, there it is. Okay, here it is. Found it. Okay, now it's there. I need to move you guys again. Oh no. Okay, so this is the page. This is a page. You see the little outlines here. So it's just like the template I just showed you. But this one has a module grid on it. This is a module grid. You know, square, 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 module grid. This is the gutter here. So this is like the A, and then your body copy. There's the middle. Does that make sense? Because your layout sketches are due on the 6th.
So are we just doing just like this kind of where we're putting
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah, like, do you want the A to be gigantic, or do you want the A to be like the other person did, like a little tiny A in the middle? Or is it going to be a lowercase a, like this? Is your body copy going to be all the way across the page? Is it going to be like a little tiny paragraph like this? Different layouts. Try different things. Is it all going to be like 2 columns wide? So try out 30 of those and see which ones what you guys decide you're going to like to do.
Can we change like when we're getting, this is probably further down the road, but like, can we, I don't know why I'm just like obsessed with like asking about like what colors we can use. Like, can we like get really creative, like colorful with it, or like does it need to be like more? I guess it depends on our target audience.
It depends on the target audience and what you're going to use for your actual objects.
Mhm.
I think somebody had mentioned they wanted to do candy. I can't remember who said they wanted to do candy. Melissa said she wanted. That would probably be a very colorful book.
I thought of candy too, but I don't want to, I mean, I was gonna do like maybe flowers or something from nature.
Yeah. And do you want like a dusty color palette, or do you want a very vibrant, bright color palette? Like, I guess it depends on what you decide to put in it as far as the flowers go. Are they going to be dried flowers? Are they going to be fresh flowers?
Right, right, yeah. Or I wish it were like springtime now, they could be found flowers because I have so much nature. Like we're right here by the river, so damn it.
River rocks.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. But okay.
Yeah. There's lots of ideas. What you feel would be the easiest, and you could always think of these really complex things that you want to photograph and then try to take them into Photoshop, and then it's so annoying to try and if I were you guys, I'd do one photo and then try and see how hard it is to take into Photoshop and do what you want with it. Or like 10 photos, like try it out first.
That's a good suggestion.
Yeah, because you don't want to do like, I don't know how she did the grass. Well, I mean, that probably was a little bit hard in Photoshop because things that are wispy or feathery are really hard to do in Photoshop. It's very hard to get like the feathering on the selection just right so that it doesn't look like cut off, but yet it looks like a soft edge to it. So I don't know how good you guys are at Photoshop. That's why I did mine where it was like all set up and ready to go and done, and I didn't have to like select stuff and try to make it work. I don't know if it, like if you took this into photo, like this particular layout template, if you took this into Photoshop and tried to separate the lines out of it, it can be annoying. It's easier than it used to be, way easier, but it's annoying. If you took a grid paper into Photoshop and tried to like if you drew something on a grid and you try to separate the drawing from the grid, it's very annoying because it gets all intertwined. I've done that and it's annoying.
I haven't worked in InDesign with this big of a document before. Like, so is there, I know there's is it gonna slow the computer down? Like, because I know
Because you're, yeah,
Mhm.
the photos may, I don't know how old your computer is.
No,
The photos
it's,
may.
yeah, okay.
We'll get into linking to that's going to be important, and then what kind of photos you bring into to InDesign need to be TIFFs when you export them out of Photoshop. We'll get into that later. If you're going to send it to Blurb, the best is a TIFF when you export it out of Photoshop. That gives you the least problems. But that's down the line. The first thing you need to worry about is your target audience, what you found, your actual objects, and how you want your layout to look. Like mine was not that difficult. Mine was super easy. The body copy is it's going to be very helpful for the book. It's going to make the book look so much better to have some weight on one side as opposed to the other. That's another thing when you're doing your body copy. Is it is it I'm gonna go back to the examples. Think about this when you're doing your layouts eventually. Like, when they're next to each other, I want to see one where they're next to each other. Um, does the size of the letter equal the size of the text on the other side? Are they weighted evenly? How's everybody doing? You feeling pretty overwhelmed? I know the
I'm
first time I
just,
did something like this, I was like, my mind was broken.
no, I'm kind of like excited about this project. I'm just trying to think about, I want to, I'm like thinking like, so if I'm just trying to get creative, like, and think of interesting, something like interesting to do. Like, I was just thinking, like, maybe I could pour like candle wax. Could I do that? Like to make the alphabet, but that would be kind of like,
It
I don't
depends
know.
on how well it would come out. I mean, there's been people that have done some really weird stuff, like dirt. Um,
Mhm.
but I'd like to, you can't really do much with dirt. Like, really, I mean, unless it's like you get dirt from all over the world or country, like this is red dirt from Colorado and this is black dirt
Okay.
from here and this, or sand or whatever to make it
Mhm.
interesting. But then you also have to think about the color palette of it too.
Mhm.
Are they all gonna, is it all gonna be the same color? Are they gonna do different colored candles? And what would you be talking about? Would it
Right.
be the scent of the candle or how it was made or what the ingredients are?
Okay.
You guys are free to work on your creative brief or work on, anybody had questions on project 4? Or exercise 4, I should say. Can start asking questions. I'm gonna stop recording.